Okay, welcome back. We're here, episode 3 of our Bible study series, Have All Things Been Fulfilled? Today we're going to look at Luke 24, verse 44. And just a reminder, if you haven't seen the first episode, the introduction, you might want to check that out. The whole reason for doing this study, some preterists use this verse and similar verses to state that all things written in the Old Testament were fulfilled in 70 AD. And in this series, we are testing this theory. So today's episode, we're going to look at the meaning of Jesus' statement in Luke 24:44. Then he said to them, "These are the words which I spoke to you while I was still with you, that all things must be fulfilled, which were written in the law of Moses and the prophets and the Psalms concerning me." So the question to ask ourselves, what was the context? Was this to be taken literally? Or could all things be a hyperbole in this statement? Or was there a limit to the scope of all things? And what is the meaning in this passage of all things written in the law of Moses and the prophets and the Psalms? Did he mean the entire Old Testament had to be fulfilled, or just a certain portion of the Old Testament? What we're going to do now is take just another look at the verse. Here it is. Take a look at note the highlights here. Then he said to them, "These are the words which I spoke to you while I was still with you, that all things must be fulfilled, which were written in the law of Moses and the prophets and the Psalms concerning me." That's our key there. Note the highlighted portion, concerning me. We can't overlook this statement. It's a qualifier, or it's a constraint that helps us to understand the context and the scope of all things. Our interpretation of this verse alone, without any of the surrounding verses to try to get more context, could easily be understood to mean all things that were written just about the Messiah, as long as we acknowledge the concerning me portion of the verse. And to further clarify the meaning of all things, we're going to take a closer look at the context of the discussion here that Jesus had with his disciples. And we're going to rewind, staying in Luke chapter 24, rewind to verse 25 through 27. It says, "Then he said to them, O foolish ones, and slow of heart to believe in all that the prophets have spoken. Ought not the Christ to have suffered these things and to enter into his glory?" And beginning at Moses and all the prophets, he expounded to them in all the scriptures the things concerning himself. And then we'll fast forward to verse 40 in Luke 24. When he had said this, he showed them his hands and his feet, again confirming the sufferings there. But while they did not believe for joy and marveled, he said to them, "Have you any food here?" So they gave him a piece of broiled fish and some honeycomb, and he took it and ate in their presence. Then he said to them, this is our verse today, "These are the words which I spoke to you while I was still with you, that all things must be fulfilled, which were written in the law of Moses and the prophets and the Psalms concerning me." And he opened their understanding, that they might comprehend the scriptures. Then he said to them, "Thus it is written, and thus it was necessary for the Christ to suffer and to rise from the dead the third day, and that repentance and remission of sins should be preached in his name to all generations, beginning at Jerusalem." So again, context, Jesus is speaking of the sufferings of Messiah and the glories that would follow. This is the death, burial, and resurrection of Christ. These things were prophesied in the Old Testament, the law, the prophets, and the Psalms. And having said that, I just want to make a note here. Many have noted that the law and the prophets is a generic term to refer to the entire Old Testament. And I completely agree with that is sometimes true. But in this passage, if you want to extend that to this passage, that just means you're ignoring the whole context and the qualifiers that Jesus put on it. You're ignoring the context. The qualifier is concerning me. And again, the whole context is a passage regarding the sufferings that Messiah would have to endure and the glories that would follow. And just no extra charge here, there's a bonus verse, Acts 3:18. "But those things which God foretold by the mouth of all his prophets, that the Christ would suffer, he has thus fulfilled." So it's the sufferings that were fulfilled here. In the previous episode, that was episode 2, Luke 21, verse 22, we made the following statements. They don't necessarily apply here the more I look at this verse, but it's not necessary to conclude that all things being fulfilled had to include the fulfillment of the entire Old Testament. Events after the millennium, and Revelation 20 did not have to be fulfilled in 70 AD. That includes Gog and Magog battle, Great White Throne Judgment, new heavens, new earth. Again, we said those in the previous episode, but however, in today's episode, we're not even talking about an end time event. We're not even discussing a 70 AD event. This is only in the context of the discussion regarding the crucifixion and resurrection of Christ, which are all fulfilled prior to 70 AD. So again, it's a very big stretch to try to use this all things to apply to all Old Testament prophecies. Again, let me know if you have any questions. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Next episode is going to be episode 4. We're going to look at Matthew 5:18. For assuredly I say to you, till heaven and earth pass away, one jot or one tittle will by no means pass from the law till all is fulfilled. And until next time, contend earnestly for the faith which was once for all delivered to the saints, and God bless.